So the enthusiastic person is in God. And I know that when I am in that divine place, that I am enthusiastic, I have zeal. I'm excited about life. And another thing that helps me is to understand energy. And energy and in motion, energy in motion is emotion. So if you have zeal and if you have enthusiasm, then you're full of emotion. You're probably passionate about what you're talking about or what you're doing. And the fact is that all of us have all of the energy we could ever need. I know sometimes we feel tired, you know, the body gets tired and fatigued, and we wish we had more energy. But it's there. They say that in one drop of water, there's enough energy in that one drop of water to light a big city for a long time or blow up a mountain. And think of our bodies. We're over 90% of water, and so we have all of that energy innately within us. Every cell of our body is intelligent and is full of energy. Energy is not something that we have to go create. It's something we have to release. Energy is not something that lies outside of us. It is something that is inside of us and is readily available just for the access. So sometimes we think that the answer lies outside of us in a pill, in a drug, in a cigarette, in a sex life, in a glass of alcohol. We keep thinking sometimes, well, you know, I will feel better if or when I get that promotion or I get that love in my life or whatever it might be, missing the idea that no, all of that is already within us. The answer lies not outside, but inside of us. We learn to energize from within by going into meditation and connecting to our source. So if it's that important, how might we call forth this disciple of zeal? How do we make that work? I have 4 ideas for you. If you want to, you'll notice in your bulletin there's a little piece of paper that says notes. And if you want to take notes, that would be great. But I'll tell you what they are. They are meditate, appreciate, participate, and celebrate. Meditate, appreciate, participate, and celebrate. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder at the age of 94, wrote these words down. I fairly sizzle with zeal, life, and enthusiasm, and I go forth into my day to do that which is mine to do. At age 94, I fairly sizzle with zeal, life, and enthusiasm. Would you like to wake up every day with that kind of an attitude? Well, it can be done. And one of the first steps is to learn how to meditate. Meditation is an opportunity to draw forth the energy that is already inside of you, in your cells and in your system, to tap into the energy of the universe by becoming still and quiet, getting the monkey chatter of your mind to be quiet so that you can access somebody else's opinion other than your ego's, and allow Spirit to work with you and through you. Isaiah 9 says, it talks about the coming of the Messiah, and it describes, it says, his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And then it ends with this statement, and the zeal of the Lord will cause this to happen. The zeal of the Lord. See, God has zeal, right? God has energy. It's a matter of tapping into it. In 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and of love and of discipline. The word discipline comes in there because it means that we learn that there are certain things that we have to practice every day, otherwise life doesn't work for us. So the word disciple is the root word for discipline, that we learn to set some goals and control our bodies and control our thoughts enough to accomplish the goals that we have set. There was a time when I had my church in Georgia where my schedule was very busy because I was also helping 2 other churches. I spoke twice at the church in Georgia because our sanctuary wasn't large enough to hold the crowd. I'd have lunch with some folks. I would drive to LJ, Georgia, and I would speak there at 1:30. And then I would drive almost across the state to Athens and speak to a young church there. And this particular afternoon, I also had a board meeting at the Athens church. And in between the board meeting and the evening service, I sort of lost my energy. And I said, oh, I'm thinking about, because the drive round trip is about 500 miles on any given Sunday. And I said, well, maybe instead of driving back after the service, I'll check into a local motel. But you know what I did? At the board meeting, I just told the people, I said, you know, I'm feeling drained, and I need you to pray with me. You know, sort of like the blessing we did here. Hopefully you felt that energy coming, and it sort of jazzed you up a little bit. So they did that. And they prayed with me, and they helped me tremendously. I was able to go through the lesson. Driving home, I got on the phone, and I called my two sons. I got work done on the way home, and I got back to my place, and I was energized. So we can renew this zeal. We can call it forth. And if in your life you've been depressed and you've been down, know that you don't have to stay there. There is a way up and out. And part of that answer is to practice meditation. Energy work is very important. And last Sunday, you missed Kenya Sanders. Kenya Sanders did some energy work for a guest here, but she stayed at the home. Dave and Mary Lou was gracious to extend their home for her to stay, and I know that Dave, she tells me that Dave had a little shoulder discomfort from his tennis playing, or from hugging Mary Lou too tight. I'm not sure exactly what caused it. But she worked on him, and then my friend that I brought up, Megan, Megan helped me because I didn't know how to get to the airport to pick up Candy. She says, I know how to get you there. I'll go with you. And so on the way back, we stopped for a bite to eat at the Daily News. I think that's the name of it, the News Daily. And Candy said to Megan, you know, thank you for helping Ray, and I would like to give you an energy session. So she does what she did, what she does, and worked with Megan on her emotions and on her body. And I can tell you this, that this is a brand new lady. Yeah, she found her self-esteem. I got to not cry. She found her self-esteem, and her life is now coming into shape. So energy work is so very, very important. So the little song that we sang might be a good way for us to carry it around as a mantra. I am alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. Can you say that with me together?
I am alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic.
Anytime that you're drained a little bit, just say that, okay? So meditate. Then how about appreciate? What we say in unity is what we appreciate appreciates. It grows. What we focus on increases. Where our attention goes, life flows. And that really is true. Think about what you're focusing on. If you're focusing on what is not right in your life, what do you get?
More.
You get more of what's not right. You know? If you focus on what is good, what is great, and what is grand, what do you get?
More.
You get more of what is good, great, and grand. And that is a choice. I know sometimes it's a tough choice because life can deal you a blow. And you can be shaken up a little bit. But if we know that we can always control our thinking, like we can change the station to play something else, to change that tape that is playing and playing. And I'm telling you this because I've been there. And occasionally I still go there. One of the tools that somebody taught me, and you might want to try it, is every day start with the alphabet, and for every letter, find something for which you're grateful. So A, I like aging. I think I'm doing pretty darn good at aging. B, I like beauty. I like to be surrounded by beauty. C, I like cars. I really do like cars. D, I like dogs. I like the way, I told my wife once, you know, if you could greet me like our dog does, you know, wag your tail, jump on me and lick me, I look forward to coming home. E, energy, which gets us back to our subject. So every day, go through the alphabet. It's a little tool to help you to focus your attention on what is good. It's hard sometimes to see the good. I know that there was this pastor's wife, and it's tough being a pastor, but it's even tougher to be a pastor's wife, I think, because and her goal was, okay, I know there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the church, but I don't want to look at that. I just only want to see the good. Well, she was having a challenge of seeing the good in the choir, because the choir was made up of people a little bit older than her, in their 80s, all that kind of stuff. And besides that, their voices were weak, and they're not really good singers, and so she's really having a hard time. And one Sunday morning, she was sitting there, and the choir processed down the aisle. They came down the aisle, and they went up to the choir loft, and they slipped into their chairs, and she poked the lady next to her, and she said, "They sure are walking good, aren't they?" So at least they're walking good, you know. May not be singing good. So I want to share with you, to change your ways, change your thinking. Here are the 10 commandments for an unhappy life. Thou shalt hold on to bitterness and anger. Thou shalt never get too close to anybody, and keepeth all of thy relationships at a surface level. Thou shalt wear a gloom expression on thy face at all times. Thou shalt put aside play, and shalt inflict upon others that which has been afflicted upon you. Thou shalt grumble about the small stuff, forgetting the bigger picture. Thou shalt forget about others' needs, thinking only of your own. Thou shalt hold regular pity parties, inviting others to join you. Thou shalt not take a vacation. Thou shalt expect the worst in all situations, blame and shame everyone around thyself for everything, and dwell on the feebleness, faults, and fears of others. And finally, thou shalt be in control at all times, no matter what. Well, if you want to live a miserable life, that's the way to do it. But if we appreciate what we have, I told you 2 years ago my life had been turned upside down, and somebody gave me a book from, and I lost the name, but it's called Love What Is, Byron Katie. So I'm sitting in my room and I'm looking at this book saying, love what is? Do you know what's going on in my life? But the more that I sort of live with that and say, well, there really are a lot of good things going on. Now, maybe not everything is would like it to be, but I've got a roof over my head, I've got food on my table, I've got a family that loves me, I've got the freedom to sleep as long as I want to, I can walk the dog, I can play with my grandchildren. I began to list the good things. So I began to appreciate, and guess what? It does appreciate, and that opens up even more good. And my life today is wonderful on every level. So it's meditate, appreciate, and then it's participate. Life is not a spectator sport. I think increasingly it's getting difficult to make it a participatory sport, because there's so many things that want to distract us into just one little area of our lives. And I had a neighbor, I won't mention the fact that she's here today, that was talking about her boyfriend who was always playing the games, the little Game Boys or whatever they're called, or Icebox or T-Box or T-Bo or whatever it is. And he's all caught up in that. And I was thinking the other day, if I was married, I couldn't get by with this, because I was on the computer probably about 5 hours that day. Nothing important to do, just sort of, playing around with things. And so it's easy for us to get caught up now and not actually go out and participate in life, because we can spectate. But life is about participation. 1 Peter 1:13 says, therefore gird your mind for action. Gird your mind for action. Jesus said, blessed is the man who not only hears my word, but who does them, or who lives them. Unity has 5 principles. I won't go over all 5 now, but the last principle is, it is not enough to know these truths. We must live them. It's about being active. Nike said, what's their motto? Just do it, right? And we all know that. So we know it's just about getting out there and doing it. Put one foot in front of the other. You may not see the end of the goal of the destination, but take the step that you know how to take today. My contract with God is I will walk through those doors that open. I will not try to break down the ones that are closed. So every day we say, okay, Lord, how about today? and we set an intention, and we get a direction, and we begin to move in that direction, even though we don't know exactly where it's going to lead. I had no idea what was going to happen in Riverside, California. Somebody said, how could you possibly leave your grandchildren in Nashville, Tennessee, and go someplace, a small church? Are they going to be able to support you? What's going to happen? I said, I don't know. I just said, Lord, I want to serve. And this is the door that opens, so I've got to go through it. So here I am. What's that motto? Somebody sort of reversed the saying that said, don't just do something, sit there. Don't just do something, sit there. Well, do something. Pick out a cause that you believe in. I had a member of my church in Jonesboro, Georgia. They belonged to a club, and what they did, they make sure that the creek that ran through their town was clean. And they would systematically go out and pick up garbage, and they would monitor what's being dumped into it. Find something you believe in. If you believe in this church, get active in it. Participate in it. Volunteer. Dolly Parton started an organization. I didn't know anything about it until I was living with my grandchildren. And every month, they would get a book from Dolly Parton. So she sends out millions of books to children under a certain age. I forget what age that it stops, 5 or 6, I guess. And she's got this foundation that sends out books, and they look forward to the book that would come from Dolly Parton. And they were wonderful books. So that's one of the things that she believed in. People reading, and children reading, and parents reading with their children. So it's a wonderful cause. What do you believe in? So we meditate, we appreciate, we participate. Elections are coming up. I don't know what your politics is, but vote. Participate. That's what our democracy is all about. There's only 2 kinds of people on this planet. There are givers and there's takers. All right? There's givers and there's takers. So our choice is to give. And what I've learned is I cannot outgive God. Every time I do something for somebody, every time I give money to somebody, it comes back to me in ways that I can't anticipate. In Luke 6:38, one of my favorite scriptures, it says, give, and it shall be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you give, it will be measured to you. And I ask you to test God. Participate, give, do something in your life and in your community, and see if God will not bless you for it. And finally, celebrate. Meditate, appreciate, participate, and then celebrate. In other words, have fun. Play. Sometimes my life gets out of balance, and I recognize that I haven't really laughed in some time, or I hadn't gotten out and walked, or I haven't done something that was fun. And I have to remind myself to get back in balance. Philippians says, rejoice in the Lord always. You know that song? Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. Rejoicing is very important. There was this man who was scared about going to hell. Probably listened to his preacher too much, and obviously not attending a Unity church. So he said, okay, I want to cover my bases. So what he did, he studied all of the major religions. He joined as many as he possibly could, because he was convinced that he was going to get to the pearly gates, that St. Peter was going to ask him a question and he wouldn't know the answer. So that's why he studied. He got a theological degree, and he knew the Bible inside and out. So sure enough, he died, and he went to the pearly gates. St. Peter said, the Lord would like to see you. He said, oh no, oh God, I hope I can remember all that I studied. And so he goes over to God trembling, and God looks down at him. He said, oh, here comes the question. Here it comes. He says, son, tell me something. Did you have fun down there? And I think that is the question. We have been placed in the Garden of Eden. Space in our studies at Paul has not shown us anything like this. This is an amazing and wonderful place. And I think we are put here for only one purpose, and that is to enjoy it. It's not supposed to be a struggle. Life is not supposed to be that difficult. We're supposed to have fun. Teilhard de Chardin said, joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. Joy is a sure sign of the presence of God. If you're going to a church that isn't having fun, you're probably in the wrong church. There was this pastor that was having difficulty with his choir director. There was a lot of tension going on between the two of them, and it seemed like she would on purpose contradict anything that he talked about on Sunday morning. One Sunday morning, his message was about dedicate yourself to service. And the song that she played afterwards is that I shall not be moved. The next Sunday he talked about the sin of gossiping. Her song was, I love to tell the story. He preached on giving. Her song was, Jesus paid it all. He finally one Sunday he said to the congregation, you know, some things don't change in this church. I'm going to resign. Her hymn was, why not tonight? So the next Sunday he did resign. He said to the congregation, Jesus led me to this church. Now Jesus is leading me away. And her hymn was, what a friend we have in Jesus. There was this minister who felt that his congregation wasn't listening to him, so he wanted to give them a test. And he said, I want to say one word, and then I want you to sing a hymn that goes along with that word. So he said, grace. They started singing Amazing Grace. He said, joy. And they said, I've got joy, 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 joy down in my heart. He said, love. And they sang, love lifted me. He said, faith. And they sang, faith of our fathers living still. He said, Jesus. They said, what a friend we have in Jesus. Then just to sort of trick them, see if they're really paying attention, he said, sex. Well, it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Everybody was holding their breath. Sex. For a long time, maybe 5 minutes, and finally, way back in the back row, an 85-year-old woman stood up and sang, precious memories. Ray's being silly. All right, we're going to close with this. Came across this last night. Nadine Stair? Nadine Stair, S-T-A-I-R, 85 years of age, wrote this. It's entitled, If I Had My Life to Live Over. She says, if I had my life to live over, I'd dare to make more mistakes next time. I'd relax. I would limber up. I would be sillier than I have been this trip. I would take fewer things seriously, and I would take more chances. I would climb more mountains and swim more rivers. I would eat more ice cream and less beans. I would perhaps have more actual troubles, but I'd have fewer imaginary ones. You see, I'm one of those people who live sensibly, insanely, hour after hour, day after day. Oh, I've had my moments, and if I had it to do over again, I would have more of them. In fact, I tried to have nothing else, just moments, one after another, instead of living so many years ahead of each day. You see, I've been one of those people who never goes anywhere without a thermometer, a hot water bottle, a raincoat, and a parachute. If I had to do it over again, I would travel lighter than I have this time. If I had my life to live over, I would start barefoot earlier in the spring and stay that way later in the fall. I would go to more dances. I would ride more merry-go-rounds, and I would pick more daisies. And now the good news is, somebody last night on Facebook said it. It says, Ray, you can start over right now. Right now, you and I can decide. Today begins the rest of my life. The past is gone. The future is before me. Today I choose life. Today I choose zeal. Today I choose enthusiasm and zeal. So it is. Namaste.